Arabian narrowly edged out Stefani last week, and thanks to a lack of gaspers, took the points lead. However, now that we've hit the second half of the season, drop weeks will begin to change the picture. This will make for a much closer battle in the championship as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Robert O'Brien. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This week, we return to a full-length circuit for the first time since round 4. Mosport will feel like open pasture for the drivers compared to the previous 2 rounds. So let's head to our track guide to take it all in. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts over the years. But Mosport is still exactly the same footprint as it was when it was built in 1961. A mere 11 turns, most of which are high-speed sweepers, are dispersed among 2.5 miles, or just shy of 4 kilometers. The only alterations to the turns have been to the runoff areas, but otherwise the radii, camber, and elevation changes are all untouched. Because cars have continued to get faster through the passage of time, it's made this place a fearsome beast to tackle. Clayton Corner is particularly notorious. The blind crest and steep plunge combined with incredibly high speeds to create a punishing combination. Without many heavy braking zones, passing is often difficult. And other than using the slipstream up the Mario Andretti Straight, the only other option is usually Moss Corner. This double apex hairpin is named after Sir Sterling Moss for his suggestion to redesign it after he saw its initial layout. While the plateau-like middle portion and critical exit onto the backstretch certainly give it plenty of character, the heavy compression at the bottom of the hill that causes a frighteningly short braking zone makes this one not for the faint of heart. Formula One, USAC, and IMSA have all taken their turns here, but recently NASCAR has joined the fray by holding a round for the Truck Series. Old school fans can rejoice for the enduring popularity of this bastion of untouched tarmac. But any motorsports enthusiast can't help but smile at the thrill Mosport continues to provide. Well, Rob, it's officially called Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, but this is going to be a lot of park to run around for these little cars.
It's going to be an absolute great day for him, Joe. It's a fun little track. 10 corners in the GP layout, just under 2.5 miles or just under 4 kilometers.
Absolutely. So it is not got a lot of turns. It's a lot of straights and some sweeping corners around here. We'll be fascinated to see how these cars handle it as we now look, we first go to our sponsor, Ringfree, a unified VoIP for your essential business. Find out more at ringfree.com. Choose connection. And of course, we want to take a look as well at our championship. And up at the top, it is Florence Arabian. What looks like a big chunk over Gaspers. Remember, though, they get 3 drop rounds. And right now, there are only 2 rounds for each of those top 2 drivers in the points that have not been on the podium for them. So they're going to be pretty even. From there on down, you can see it's quite spread, but Ora and Stefani close, though we haven't seen Matt since the early races. We have the Spec 2 championship as well. Rob, why don't you run us through that?
Thomas Renders, by the way, sitting on the top with 371 points. Johan Butanga, just 78 points behind, just under 300 points. Flavio Andola doing very well for himself with just under 270. Evan Wood in 4th position, just followed by 1 point by Theo Taylor down at 5th.
And of course, if we look at the Masters, you can see that Tom Gradwell is up at the top, a little bit closer than the other Spec 1 race, with Batley only back by 63 points. Look at 4th and 5th, though. Not only do you have Antonio Reese and Mike Taylor, but Coppage is tied with Mike in that 5th spot. So 3 drivers split by a mere 4 points. But let's go over our race details real quick, Rob, and familiarize our audience.
So around this track, it's going to be quite tight. I've seen some of the racing going on here before. It's round 7 of a 40-minute race. one pit stop with open setups. Should really, scratch out open, right, and shared instead, because this community is all about sharing setups with each other, and no secret unturned. And it's quite a big track for these guys. As we said, 2.5 miles or just under 5 kilometers. It is going to be a test to see how well they can manage the tires as well. The track out there is looking pretty sunbeaten right now, and with that 40 minutes and a track temperature of just over 30 degrees, which would be just around 80 Fahrenheit if my memory serves correct. 90 Fahrenheit, just off the mark. It is going to be it's going to be difficult to do tire management and fuel management all in one here. I think this is going to be the biggest test that they have so far.
Yeah, and I got to think that a lot of drivers are going to be desperately hoping to cling to that slipstream of the car ahead here today, not just for that fuel management, but also because of the way that they can be pulled along here. The Andretti Straight, I kind of wonder, let's listen for a bit. I'm willing to bet these cars lose a little speed actually going up this hill.
It's still climbing, but very, very slowly. I mean, you'd be surprised. Even with some of the hills, I would have imagined the hills just coming up to this long back straight would have actually posed a bit of a more threat to speed loss. But it will prove a bit of a challenge for those following each other. I want to see if, the slipstreaming game that we had at the last round also plays a part here, because with that long straight at Zandvoort, it had a positive effect on those trying to do overtakes. They had just enough of a track length and just enough speed to make an overtake and then get in front of the car they were passing. With the length and the hill of between turn 8 and 9, I wonder if that will pose much of a threat to people, because if they can get just even 6 kilometers an hour on top of the guy they're passing, and with the hill, I imagine a lot of them are going to be stuck having to wave around the right-hand side and watch people go past.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be a fun one, I think, is really the best way to put it, just because it's going to be able to keep everybody in tow with one another so easily. Qualifying is already finished. This is just a warm-up session, but we'll be getting to that grid in just a moment here. Not a whole lot of cars, though, that are participating, which is a bit disappointing, but should still be plenty to give us that fun that we're hoping for as we watch a few of them still warming up, running their way up that Andretti Straight. Clayton Corner also one to look out for. That second turn over the blind crest downhill. Even in some of the slower cars here on iRacing, it is scary. And so I'm sure these things, with these tiny cars, it's going to feel like going over a roller coaster in them. With just about 6 seconds left, and we head off to that race session here for round 7 of the 12 race season here in the first ever Formula V Weekend Warriors Championship. And so far, our championship leader, Forens Arabian, has taken 2 wins. Can it be a third here today? They start to grid up, and at the top of them, it is going to be Flavio Andallo, with Simon Meyer starting in second. Stefani will be in third. Then it's Frasky starting P4, as Batley will be fifth. Vucinic will start in the 6th position, with Ian Gibson on the inside of the next row. Thomas Renders, great qualifying for him, in 8th. As 9th is Gorison, and Arabian with a horrible qualifying today, only in 10th.
In 11th is Alejandro Liro in the 282 car. Leroy Coppage doing very well in 12th position. In 13th, Mark Geehan in the number 999 car. 14th is Tom Gradwell. Jared Colo following up in 15th. Justin Hoffman in 16th. 17th is Frederic in the number 252 car. Ryan Walker, he's actually quite far down the list. He didn't I imagine that he would want to be much further up the field than he is right now, down in 18th, 19th. Johan Putenga again. We've seen how well he can do in a race. I wonder if this is another with another, you know, great charge up the field. Remember last time at Zandvoort, he did a real good job going 15, 14 places, I think. Juan Lee Lin in 20th, finally running out the final two. David Davidson and Joe Marant.
22 cars taking to the grid out there. They'll get a pace lap and then they'll be on their way when they come back around. So with 40 minutes of racing, what are we going to see amongst these drivers hungry to be the first champion in this series? Interestingly, do not have a David Gaspers here once again. This could be his third drop week. After that, if he doesn't show up after today, then he's really going to start bleeding points since he won't have any more drops to try and hide him. This is going to be interesting as well. No downforce on these cars. So this hairpin, the Moss corner, double apex, and look at the crest. These things, I wonder if it's all going to be about that weight transfer management, trying to make the most of a corner like that here, Rob.
Oh yeah, it's the weight transfer in these cars is going to be key, especially, you know, with how much hill, just all of the hill that you could ever get is just packed into this one track. And especially coming down the hill, you know, you're not going to have the downforce that will keep you glued to the track. All you have is mechanical grip and whatever sort of drag the car can provide by itself. And it's going to be difficult. I'm not going to be surprised if one or more cars just lose it into the grass, just trying to keep the car going as much as possible with as much speed as possible. You know, these cars are speed-based, so it's going to be interesting. And as we're coming around the final three, it is going to be interesting to see if anybody drifts wide out here as well.
Yeah, especially since that's going to be the fastest part of the track, getting up to about 90 miles an hour. But the green flag is out, and Ndala with a great start jumps ahead of the field behind him, stealing second away. Stefani slips to the inside of Meyer. Behind them, that's Rasky trying to settle in. Lots of space around this track for these little cars, so as they pick up speed through turn one, now it's going to get a little trickier as they come up to Clayton.
Greg Stefani trying to defend himself from Simon Mayer, coming around turn 3 and just sliding into a nice easy routine. Oh, sorry, there's an accident. There's a car going off. That is Wanji Lin going off in the background, but we're just going to continue on with Flavio Ndolo as he tries to defend from Greg Stefani. Oh, as Simon Mayer looks to see if he can upset the apple car. Mario Haraski looking on the middle of the, he was looking like to see if he wanted to go 3 wide. We come up to 7 and 8. Does anybody slip up here? Coming around the double right-hander. Flavio Ndolo just stepped the car just a little bit as we come under the Mobile 1 sign, and the gaps are starting to form in the field as Flavio Ndolo is trying to run away from Greg Stefani, but Greg glued to that rear end of the car number 1415.
Yeah, and we're getting an idea of the kind of runs that we're going to see as he's now past him, but now that he's pushing the air himself, he slows, he's ahead. He could cut in front if he wants to, and he does. And Ndalo just gets in behind him. Meyer sits back in third as they go single file into the S's. And I can report that Lynn's incident was a single car wreck, just didn't touch anybody, lost a little bit of traction with that weight transfer at the bottom of the hill as it compresses. So first lap led by Stefani, trying to redeem himself, missing out on that win last week.
And it's going to be key here to see how Flavio sort of tangos with Stefani, because Stefani had this sort of taste of potential victory. I'd say he's got sort of the bit between his teeth.
Certainly. And
sorry, go ahead.
Arabian back there has a long ways to make up to try and challenge him this week. Remember, he started all the way down in 10th. He's still in 10th place and is about 3 seconds behind. Yeah,
and it is Stefani's race to win or to lose, really, because as long as he can put up enough of a gap, then now that he has the first place, now that he has sort of clean air in front of him, he doesn't have to follow a car, doesn't have to suffer under sort of slipstream and elusive grip. as little downforce grip that these cars generate. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if Stefani continues to sort of bridge a gap, or as we see here, Andolo just slightly coming back, ever so slightly creeping back towards Stefani. We're looking on with anticipation as they come into the sweeping right-hander. That is going to be the car of
Hraski.
Hraski trying to do battle with Flavio Andolo, trying to prevent him from sort of making the outside move. And we see in the background Kenneth Batley moving up into 4th position, just passing Simon Mayer. Simon Mayer, oh, he's lost 2 positions. He's having a really bad time. He's lost more. Down into 7th, he's gone, pushing up Thomas Renders. Renders is now over to 6th back there.
Yeah, so Meyer, who started this on the front row all the way down into P7, advancing upwards. Batley now up into 4th. A little bit of side-by-side action there with Meyer once again, trying to hold back Renders, but he swings wide out of the corner and over under, potentially for Thomas. No, starts to run out of steam. Up at the front, here we go. Battle for the lead as Hraski is not going to settle for 2nd. He's going to look to the inside of Stefani into Moss corner and then decides against it.
This is going to be what Stefani is going to have to battle with now. He has to get enough of a gap to prevent this. Otherwise, he's going to be losing time. We've seen it before. You know, if they lose time and if they get distracted, you know, Arabian is still back there. He can push up and start making positions himself. The pink car, you just see him there. He's just about to crest the hill in the corner of the cameras on the right-hand side. He is the ever-looming threat to these guys. We know how good he is. And he can put in some great moves. And as they go almost two by two coming into turn 9, sweeping right-hander. Does anybody blink? That is Greg Stefani having to blink for Myra Hraski. A very elegant move around the outside, tucking in onto the inside, coming into the sweeping left-hander in turn 10 into 11. And Myra Hraski now leads with Greg Stefani having to play catch-up.
And there's a spinner behind him. Ian Gibson has lost out. He is definitely away from that lead group now.
And Coppage as well, and Mark Keehan.
Oh no. 2 separate incidents, unfortunately. Looks like Gibson here, as we try to take a look at what happened to him, I think just got a little caught out by those, and it looks like maybe that 2nd incident was involved with them being unsighted by him trying to right himself. Here's Gibson.
Yeah, Gibson, he drifted out just a little. Ooh.
His
nose got struck. Yeah, his nose got struck. Oh, crikey. Leroy Coppage having to avoid Ian Gibson, but there's no space for him on that inside, so it's very unfortunate for him.
And they're all kind of in the pits right now, having to get their free car as Coppage is able to return. So he'll get back out in 19th position. Up at the front, this is going as I pretty much expected. Hraski and Stefani continue to swap the lead back and forth. Batley has moved into 3rd somewhat recently, last lap at the end of this stretch into turn 8. But he's starting to lose some distance to them. He's got to watch out. If he loses that slipstream, those two could run away with the fight for the lead themselves.
Greg Stefani with the hill aiding him just ever so slightly. He's able to have just 2 to 3 kilometers an hour an advantage over Myro Hraski, and having to sort of make the move coming up to 10. Hraski having to yield his position and let Greg Stefani go. It's going to be like this until either driver is able to make up the gap enough to prevent the move being made into 10. And just as an aside, the car 6, Foreign Arabian, he has started his charge. He was 10th. He is now 7th place. Fabio Andolo, Thomas Renders, and Alexander Garson having issues and letting him by. And Foreign's, again, as we said, very, very skilled in these kinds of cars, and he loves them. So he is not going to let the win slip away while he has the chance. Remember, it's only a 1.2 second gap between 7th to 1st. So anything can still happen. As Myra Hraski already outside, looks to see if he can make the move coming down a hill, going up into 7th. Does not make the move. But what did make the move was Foreign Arabian. Foreign Arabian almost hitting the rear right of Kenneth Batley, who dropped back down. He was in third for a lap, and then he had to drop back down. But that charge, he's now up into sixth, as we do have a spin from Alexander Garson.
Yeah, that was towards the back. I think through Moss Corner is side by side for the lead between Hraske and Stefani. Batley's getting back in it, and yeah, Arabian making his moves, picking him off. He's now up into sixth. Could he get fifth here? Doesn't look like it, as the lead is going to go to Hraske. Second might go to Lero, and Stefani is indeed going to have to give that one up. Oh, there's fifth. Oh, and a spin for Arabian. Arabian hits the wall. Can he limp it into the pits? He's right there at the entrance. Yes, he can.
It's all gone wrong for Florence Arabian. He was absolutely on a nice edge through 10, coming into the tight left-hander, and the car just steps out. The wall ready to greet him, and it struck the tire. So he definitely had to have gone into the pits. He definitely would have had suspension damage. And all that hard work undone by one slide.
We've got 31 minutes left on the clock. Is this too early for a scheduled stop? I wonder if he's going to have to make a second one. He's still going to lose time regardless, as we now look at Hraske on the screen. Our new leader, Lero, just behind him, Stefani in third. And it is split up because of those couple of incidents that we've had in the recent laps, whereas now only 4 up at the front group.
You can see them there, just the 4 of them trying to... planting themselves into one position and then thinking to themselves, I'll try and get in on the inside of this corner, outside of this corner. They're all sort of chess pieces moving around the board right now. We're just trying to see who's putting each other in check. It is going to be Lero on the... Oh, crikey, 3 wide coming down towards 9 from Myron Hraske, Greg Stefani, and Alejandro Lero. Oh, who's going to pull out on top? It's going to be Alejandro Lero just pipping out Myron Hraske and Greg Stefani. Oh, it's very close, side by side action going into 9, coming around into 10. Myron Hraske is holding on to that P1 from Alejandro. Oh, and Alejandro makes the move. Coming into 11, he's still got battles, though he's gone wide. Coming onto the track, almost touching the cars behind him, but he makes it. Oh, what a great set.
Look at the inside, though. There is Vucenic. Where did he come from? Suddenly, he's going to challenge for the lead as he watched all of them battle with one another. The 314 suddenly finds himself, almost able to get to the lead, but then he drops back going wide through Clayton, and Hraske is going to take second place back.
Oh, the car 314, he just had it. He just had it, and just one small mistake on track pushes him back down to third, and it gives a group a big gap to Alejandro. 0.6 of a second. You wouldn't think it's big, but in these cars, it's massive. And he can now just start playing ball with the track gap that he has. 0.7 of a second coming into the double right-hander. We're on board with Greg Stefani. He probably just watched this and went, what on earth has just gone on there?
Oh, they got to be careful, because look at the gap that Lero has to them now. It's about 0.6 of a second. Let's see how much they reel them in along the Andretti straight, as Vucenic pokes his nose out off the left side in that zebra-striped car. The red and white of Hraske just getting to within about 0.3 of a second of Lero before they hit the S's, and he is fully caught up. So that answers one question. 0.6 of a second looks doable, Rob.
It does, but we have this gap cutting back down again. You know, we have it isn't going to be a guarantee that you're going to get the gap and hold it. I mean, it's still going to contract and expand. You need to expand more than contract. Like the accordion, you need to have the accordion stretch out wide as much as you can and just expand, but battles are still going on. Myro again coming in.
Yep, into Clayton once more. It's Hraske to the inside, but it switches back to the right-hander. Lero a little bit defensive. Could we see the over-under, as we've seen drivers try that before? And Hraske will get a bit of a launch. He could hold the inside down into Moss, but it doesn't look like he's got quite enough speed. We might go 3 wide, though. Here comes our pole sitter as Stefani comes through and, almost gets into the back of Hraske. Backs out of it just in time.
It's very dicey. I think we can both agree it's exceptionally dicey. They're giving each other plenty of room, of course, but ooh, it's around here. It's still very dangerous. It's still, you have to be absolutely on point with your moves. As Stefani looks to make the move on the outside on Haraski, I think he is sort of wanting to have the opportunity to make the move, and he's sort of locked in because look at the car 64. You can't go anywhere.
Exactly. Haraski just blocked in as Stefani is going to cover him off, pin him down, take the second place back once again into the S's. Lero doing a great job defending. Might be the most consistent leader since the beginning of this race, which is something I'm sure those behind will be noting. They're joined by a fifth. That is a lapped car, though. That's Gihan, who is not in this fight for position.
It is going to be interesting, though. I know the lapped cars do try and get out of the way as best they can, but it's very difficult around here because where can you go?
As this has been going on, Meyer is pulling along Renders and Andalo. So the 308, the 641, and the 415. Incredibly, our AM leader is actually in P1. That's Lero right now. So this is all sorts of mixed up.
But not to say anything about Mayer or Renders, because you know, two of them have been absolutely going at it and have been putting in the work. It's just that the gap is so big right now that it's going to be very difficult on pace alone, I think, to try and get back to the group ahead of them, because it's a 1.8 second gap right now from Mayer to the car at 314, and Renders is putting up an excellent fight because he dropped down, he got up, he dropped down again, and has finally gone back up.
Looks like they are gaining a little bit. They're going to work together a little bit here as it appears that Meyer's going to drop back to the tail of this group, allows by Andalo. I think he touched the grass and almost lost control for a second. Renders now to the front of them, 2.3 seconds up to Vucenic. And now, Stefani is finally able to dethrone Lero.
Stefani making a very nice calculated move coming into 9, but he is not done yet because that's Haraski on the inside of turn 1. And again, it's now all volatile. Haraski making the move on the inside, as is Lero looking to see if he can take back P2.
Down into Clayton, side by side through here is sketchy at the best of times. It looks like Lero's got it under control. And Gorison, I see, is heading into pit lane behind them, another one of our pitters. This should definitely be within the pit window, and he'll be able to come out without another stop on the cards.
It's interesting to see now because Lero, he is absolutely putting in them laps, but it's going to be difficult to see.
Oh, contact between the leaders, I think, and more contact is sent spinning around. Lero finds himself facing the wrong way, but initially that was between Stefani and Hraski that came together. You're going to see a little touch here.
Check up between the top two, and then everybody else had to check up, and unfortunately Alejandro just got the short end of the stick on that point because he just got spun around. Not too heavy of a contact, but you can see with Mikhail just having to check up. Didn't check up enough.
Yeah, so Vucenic is able to continue on, but that spin sent Lero, where is he? Wow, he is down in 9th position, make that 8th as he's dealing with another pack. But it did slow up the front group enough that now we've got Andalo joining them, bringing Meyer and Renders along. So it has increased to a 6-car group.
It's thrown surprises after surprise after surprise. But you can just see the car 314 on the outside trying to make the move, coming onto the inside of turn 2 here on Hraski. And he, oh crikey, almost looking at 3 wide. Stefani's trying to see the opportunities that are laid bare before him, and he thought he could sneak in on a 3 wide, but the track is just not conducive to that right now, especially through these sweeping hills. And it's going to be just, you have to make one position and then another, one at a time. Stefani, you've got this.
Oh, he wants to do two at once, but once again, he finds in the middle of the track, Vucinic not going to allow him the space. He keeps himself off to the right-hand side and can't get it in there. Vucinic almost making contact for the second lap in a row to his outside. Hraski barely grips that P1, and that actually scuppered the exit of Michael, and he's suddenly going to find a lot more speed in the hands of Stefani behind him.
And it's going to be absolutely crucial. Greg Stefani, look at him. He's making the same move he did the last time. He's going to box somebody in. And look, there he is, making the move on Mikhail. Does he make the two, though? Ooh, very close indeed. He's still side by side with Myro coming up to 9. Does he continue going around into 10? Bunching up as they come around. I don't think so. He's just gone a bit too wide, and he's just going to tuck in nice and neatly behind. And look at Flavio making the move again. He's actually cut right back up. He's now into 3rd.
We got another pitter. We didn't mention it last time, but Lero did come into the pits after his incident. Vucinic now joins him as well. So Lero actually is our highest pitter. He's only 0.8 of a second of Arabian. I wonder if those two can work together and try and get up to this group once they take their pit stops, as we see Hraski ahead of Stefani now.
It's in the realms of possibility. You know, it depends on how well they can work together. It's going to be a lot of leapfrogging and then allowing the driver ahead of you to get as clean a line as possible. With these guys, they're just going to be fighting each other constantly. And with the mistake that they've already had once, where the field bunched up and we see the likes of Simon Mayer making the move, looking on the inside. Well done to him. Thomas Renders going wide, coming through the sweeping left-hander, going down the hill into 6th. You know, it's going to be quite difficult, I think, for these guys to sort of negotiate, hey, can we all just not fight so we can keep Flavio at bay?
Certainly. I'm sure they'd love that. Well, they need to start working together because, interesting info, Vucinic, he did have a slower pit stop. It was 17 seconds, but he came out about 8 to 9 seconds behind Lero. And that would mean, with that 7 seconds difference, Lero and Arabian should be equal with Stefani, Hraski, Meyer. Those guys, the lead group, once they pit, which means they're running at faster pace. The more laps that these guys run, the more that that pair are likely to come out ahead of them.
And it's going to put the likes of, it is, as you said, but the likes of Greg Stefani, Mario Hraski under trouble. And as you can see, Simon Mayer, he's making absolute no bones about putting in fastest lap, a 1:39.720. The first lap under the 140 this race alone. And you see these sweeping right-handers, or these sweeping left-handers going downhill. You can't have the outside line. You lose time. And with the battles that these guys are doing, they're losing time to the likes of Farnes Arabian, who is putting in about, it's 0.3 a lap, but over many laps, that can turn into 3 seconds. Over 10 laps, that turns into 3 seconds.
And again, if you're just joining us, you may see 6 cars, but it is a 5-car train for the lead right here. Ooh, very hot into the corner for Stefani there. I thought for sure he was heading off into the gravel to the outside, but he keeps it whole and he keeps it on the track. They once again hit the slipstream, but yes, 5 of them are for position. The 6th is Gehan, who is just basically riding around looking for points from here, and gonna have another swap, Rob, up at the front.
Exactly, and a swap down below as well. So it's going to be a 2x2 going into a Meyer Hraski around the outside. He is going to put Greg Stefani under pressure. Does Myro make the move? Just about. You can just see it. The gaps are there's no 1 second gap, 2 second gap. It's a 1/10. 1/10 of a second. That's all that separates the top 2 right now. And that's the gap that they have to make in terms of making the overtakes happen. And it's so close racing that you kind of have to hold your breath every time somebody makes a move, because it can go very wrong very quickly.
Remember, you mentioned Ryan Walker out of place starting from 18th. Well, he's up to 6th. Granted, there have been some drivers that pitted in front of him. Even still, I'd say he's doing a fairly good job as we ride on board with him. He's pulling along Rizjic behind him, the 252. Those two basically just working together at this kind of calm stage of the race for them.
And a gap in front of them as well, so they'll have an easier time of it being able to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of gravitate towards the front, because with the battle the front is having and with the constant back and forth, and we've seen it how only 4 cars contracted into 6 because of the incident that happened at 8. You know, Ryan, he is definitely going to be in with a shout to upset these guys. Again, fighting 2x2, first and second, third and fourth, fighting 2x2 with each other. Greg Stefani looking to make the move around the outside once again. He's sort of keeping it nice and tight, though. He wants to have the inside line as soon as possible so he can take the corner how he wants to take it. Sort of a top trumps, as it were, in terms of making moves. I do see a pattern emerging, though, between Stefani and Haraski. Haraski likes to make these sweeping moves around the outside, giving plenty of space. He opens his door very wide. Greg Stefani likes to keep it tucked in nice and tight against the person he's overtaking so that they can't sort of push him out to the outside at all. And I think if Stefani he could make a defensive move to try and keep Haraski around the outside as much as possible, drift him out and keep him there where he needs to be, where Stefani needs him to be, to continue holding on to first position.
That's not a bad idea. You can see the green and yellow of Meyer has joined them as well. Says he's gotten ahead of Andalo and Renders. Now they've dropped Gehan, and in fact Gehan served as a small stepping stone for Walker and Frederic back there in 6th and 7th. They've gained it up to about 2.7 seconds. Let's see if they can do more even without that little gap filled by a lapped car. Into Moss corner once again. Nobody trying it this time. Are they setting it up for the Andretti straight? It looks to be so.
It's actually a lot bigger of a gap than I was expecting, because at about this stage it would have been going side by side. Mario Haraski is still only 2/10 behind. There's going to be a lapped car. It is going to throw a spanner in the works for these guys. Mario Haraski, again, looking on the outside, he's actually now taken the Greg Stefani book of play, keeping it tucked in nice and tightly. Look at him. He's keeping it nice and tighter than he was before. He was out to almost to the left-hand side of the track. And you can see Flavio Andolo outside, very wide, coming into 9, into the sweeping right-hander. And then he tucks in, coming into... sorry, correction. That was going to be Simon Mayer making the move as he, I think, comes into the pits.
Yep, both him and Renders are going to come in this time, working together. I'm starting to think that that Frederic and Walker are quicker than the front group, because it's now down to
2.3.
Yeah, which is definitely closer than it was before. So yeah, I think they're pulling this gap in, and they could be a threat for the victory by the end of it, if depending on what happens with Leiro. But we get a good idea of that now, because Meyer and Renders should be leaving. Yes, they are out of their pit stalls. Where's Leiro? He's coming up to the first corner. This is going to be close.
Oh, just about. Does the overtake happen on track? It could still happen, though.
He's going to be within
close.
the slipstream. I think.
Threat.
Yeah, he is within about a second. Leiro is right behind Renders. Renders may be about a second and a half behind Meyer, so they may have lost a little touch with the 308. But yeah, they now have 3 of them working together here, Rob. So I think that Leiro and Arabian have managed enough pace that they're still in the hunt.
Never count the eggs until they've hatched, as the saying goes. And with foreigns, it's absolutely never ever over until the checker flag waves. And again, Stefani Haraski battling again. They need to cooperate with each other. They can't be having this.
Sorry, Leiro had a spin. Oh my goodness, Alejandro has lost touch with the group. I think he hit a bump coming down into Moss hairpin.
Let's just have a look. We can just see as we sweep around, just see how much the car pitches down. And it's very scary in these kinds of cars. And oh, just a bump, and the car just disagrees with it. The car just says no. Ooh.
Thankfully, nobody coming when he drifts back onto the track, but the damage was done. He lost a lot of time, and our leaders are now in. This is the last of them, except, well, Ryan Walker. Oh.
Walker stays out. Now, we have seen cars stay out just past the 30-minute mark. I'm hesitant to say that Walker is going to make up about 2 seconds on track by himself, but he did put in his best lap is a 1:39.977, and you know he has been very fast. So,
but look on screen. Meyer is the one that has won this strategy fight. He's got a handy gap of about 1.3 seconds over Hrasky, who is in the midst of the biggest group now. If those drivers basically squabble amongst one another, they could lose the chance to try and fight for the win, as Meyer basically could run his own race now.
And he's got the control of not having to give slipstream behind him. So Hrasky is in a losing battle if they don't negotiate with each other and try and work together. It also depends on how quick Simon Mayer is in the car, you know, how good his setup is, because if he has the good setup by his side, and look at him, he's already just pulled another 10th coming through 9, or coming through 8, sorry, onto the Andretti straight. He is, I think he does have this. And look at Stefani, he's giving no prisoners for Stefani. He wants that second place, really. He wants to have the second place that I think will happen once Walker pits in, and he's doing so now.
Side by side into turn 8 as Stefani holding on. Hrasky will be the outside through turn 9 now, and they start to bobble coming into White's corner onto the front stretch. That's the sort of stuff that's going to lose them touch to Simon Meyer. Walker coming back out. He's not going to be able to hold on to Simon, but I think he will be with this group.
Just in the middle of it, I think there's a gap, sort of a natural gap forming between. No, he doesn't. He just drifts off behind Florence Arabian and Flavio Andolo. That's a car going wide.
That was Hrasky, who dipped 2 wheels into the grass, and I don't know how he kept it from going into the barriers. Brilliant stuff from the 64. Didn't even lose touch with the group.
I say he was screaming in that car, though, and not wanting the car to go into the wall. And Florence Arabian now going up. Oh, he tried going up into 5th, but Flavio Andolo is not letting him go without a fight. Going into the right-hander. Does he have it, though? He does.
Just enough. Coming up the Andretti straight. This is the battle for best of the rest, effectively. Meyer continuing to gap the rest of them at 2.3 seconds now. Stefani leading along Renders as Hrasky tries to gather up what he had lost with that little mistake through Clayton. Arabian as well spun earlier in this race, wants to try and make up as many points as he can in his championship fight with Gaspers, but it's not looking like a win right now.
Thomas Renders coming in and taking second place away from Greg Stefani. It's all S2s really having their time to shine today, because they're now first and second. The S1s are only a third.
Yeah, that's Stefani right now, who is trying to get to the front of that group. They've also got Ndalo in there. He's Spec 2, and Frederic. So about half of the top 8 are all Spec 2 drivers here today. Seems that this Canadian course is very kindly to all of our amateur level drivers. Coming down out of Clayton, a great run from the purple car of Arabian getting into 4th.
I have just cursed Thomas Renders with the commentator's curse. Unfortunately, he went wide coming through turn 2 and went wide on a downhill stretch, and unfortunately had to let quite a lot of the Spec 1 drivers by. Greg Stefani, Meyer Hrasky, and Florence Arabian all going by. He's down at 5th now. You just see him there just behind the pink car of the car number 6 as Florence tries to continue to make gains as best he can. He started 10th, is now in 4th, and closing in on Myro. He is 8/10 of a second back, and Myro does have slipstream a lot more than Florence does, and the move is being made again. The two inseparable cars are the car 64 and car 75. Since the start of this race, essentially, they've been going at it.
Swapping back and forth. They were able to gap ahead of Arabian, which might wind up being critical, but I think Forenz is still within the slipstream, so he could tow them back to his nose as they look to the inside from Stefani into White's corner. Is that him specking out? Can he maybe pass on the last lap to get that second place from him?
Could be. I'm hesitant to say because it all depends on. Again, it all depends on who is in the right place at the right time. I'm so very hesitant to say, but Greg Stefani, he's broken the mold. He's made the move coming into turn 2. He had an absolutely excellent run out of 1 coming onto 2, but Amiro is looking on that inside line. Coming into 3, holds it. Oh, crikey. Stefani might need to be careful because Farnes is right there ready to strike.
Inside of Moss corner is going to go to Miro. So it's going to be a tough one for the likes of Stefani to complete this the long way around to the hairpin, and indeed, he has to fall back. It is now 3 seconds from this group up to Meyer. It might be done all bar the shouting here today for the victory, but we've still got plenty of action. Ducking to the left side. Stefani has not given up, but I think Arabian might have something to say about this. Are we going to get 3 wide?
It'll be just 2 by 2, I think. I think Stefani will make the move he has. And now Farnes looking on his right hand, or his left hand side, coming into 9. He'll have the inside line if he can keep it there. He does keep it there. Very difficult to keep it all glued together. And Myra almost losing another position to Renders, who looked on the outside coming into the final turn as they complete another lap. 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go. And Greg has lost another position coming into 1. Farnes steaming away.
Yeah, down along the pit straight. He had a whole bunch of speed, and the 6 is now into P2. But can he hold on to it? We've got about 3 or 4 laps left in this race, so there's still lots of time for him to be overtaken on the plethora of slipstream spots that this track offers. You can see pretty much everybody in this group is in contention for the victory, or for the second place, rather.
It's the victory of the rest, I think.
Yeah.
Because Simon is, unfortunately for everybody else, unfortunately for Simon just putting in a masterclass of strategy, and you can see by the gap right now, 2.9 seconds to Farnes Arabian, and he just needs to bring it home. Just play it safe and cool, because these guys are just going to continue fighting. Farnes Arabian, he actually darts to the outside. A bit weird of a move. Is he trying to keep the inside line? He tries to keep the inside line, but Greg Stefani has cleared him quite handsomely, and Myra Haraski has got that inside line. Can Farnes Arabian hold up to 3rd place? This is going to be interesting, and he does. So a bit of an oddball move. We haven't actually seen that one before, where you sort of take the outside line coming into 9 and then have the inside line coming into 10 to fend off the guy that's 2 places behind you. But Stefani, I think, just had too much speed for Farnes to counter coming into 9.
I've actually seen that one before, where the driver around the outside coming into the S's is able to hold on because the defense into the next corner, and this time defending the inside. Arabian holds off Haraski, and they head down into Quebec as it switches back once more. And Arabian is playing quite a few defensive moves, covers off the inside once again as we ride on board with that purple car briefly, seeing them fan out on the entry to 4.
Greg is loving this. I think he'll have a bit of a gap when it comes on to the Andretti straight, because these guys are continuously fighting. Oh, crikey. It's very close back there. Myro and Thomas Renders giving each other enough room, but not much else, because they all want to, they're all striving to get these positions. We're riding on board with, I think this is Renders, as he looks at Stefani, Arabian, and Myro. As we can see, Stefani once again going around the outside, and he's actually making the attack this time, and he clears Stefani. Stefani just doesn't have, he doesn't have the speed, because he's giving all the speed to far behind him through the slipstream, and he just sort of has to set up for when the white flag flies, and respectively, I think it's going to be in
next
2 laps
time
time.
by. Yeah. This is 2 to go right here. So it is now winding down, and if you're going to make a move, especially for those at the back, I'm looking at Frederic in the 252, Walker way behind everybody. They've got to start picking them off. And speaking of being picked off, it looks like 3 cars are going to go by in one corner, 4 cars, maybe even 5. Arabian gets absolutely mugged.
Arabian is not able to tuck in on that inside line coming around the left-hander, and he's essentially pushing himself out. It's all gone wrong for Farnes Arabian. He's now down into 7th. He's lost in one corner 5 positions. Goodness gracious.
Well, that's good to know, because I guess if you're up at the front, you are not safe coming to lead this lap. And hopefully Stefani took note of that, because he is the man in that position right now. They gained a little bit of time on Simon Meyer. In fact, about half a second. And he was quicker in his pit stop. So he may have short fueled it slightly to get himself that gap. And maybe he's suffering the consequences now, which is good news for all these behind.
Yeah, he was just, on that last lap particularly, he just was under the 141, so that's a half a second slower as Thomas Renders and Greg Stefani go to battle here, coming up side by side. A 3 wide once again. Ooh, very close, gentlemen. Hold on to your hats. Oh, a 3 wide coming around. Oh, almost contact there. Again, 3 wide. No, it's not going to end well, I don't think. Almost 4 wide.
Oh, and they tangle, and Arabian gets caught up in it and flips over. Our championship leader is going to come home with very little points here today as we take a look at the replay. An innocent victim just tangled up in those 2 fighting too hard.
Oh, it's so unfortunate for him as well, because it's all cars. There's literally nowhere for him to go. You know,
had to pick a spot. Yeah,
it's you pick a spot and you hope you've picked the right one. But it's good news for Simon Mayer, because every car behind him has had to check up. And we have the likes of Greg Stefani. He's still going, so he'll be thankful that he's made it through. But the order has just changed completely. Flavio Andolo, out of nowhere, is now battling for the podium. He's just lost it. Ryan Walker, an inside line move on 9. It's
wow. He trumped them all, and the 88 now finds himself leading, but he might not want that. I wonder if they let him have it intentionally, and Dalo's going to have the slipstream and be able to come back at him. They certainly are not going to be going for the win, it seems, as Meyer is up in front and is at full tilt, so he certainly doesn't seem to be trying to save fuel. Oh, and they're going to come together for a second time in one lap, and that means that Frederic is going to be able to take that second place. In front of it all, Simon in the 308 is going to win as a Spec 2 driver here in Canada. What a run from him. Frederic, also Spec 2. The podium is all Spec 2 drivers. Thomas Render in 3rd place as Walker limps it home, the first Spec 1 driver to take 4th.
I've never seen this happen before, where it's just all gone wrong for the Spec 1s. The Spec 2s have just come up and just said.
It went 4 wide here, and unfortunately, it's just not wide enough of a track. Walker and Dalo get spun out. Stefani falls back due to lack of momentum, and Frederic just says, "Thank you, boys." That's the second place right there.
He cut through. Very nice indeed.
Unreal change of positions at the end. So let's take a quick break, try and get our heads around that one. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interview in a few moments' time. What a strange race this was here in Canada. After round 7 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors is over, Simon Meyer, who for a while we thought maybe was not going to be involved, fell back early and then able to pull a trick over everybody with pit strategy, won the race even though he's Spec 2. Frederik Rijsdijk was second from 17th, also Spec 2, and Thomas Renders likewise. Finishing third after climbing from 8th. Our first Spec 1 was off the podium. Ryan Walker, another one that managed to overcome a poor qualifying to at least get a top 5 as Vucinic was in P5 behind him. Ian Gibson finished in 6th as Justin Huffman was 7th. Butanga was 8th and Gorison 9th. Tom Gradwell rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, unfortunately, we saw what happened to Flavio Andolo. It just was not his day. And Kenneth Batley, unfortunately, having an incident in 12th. Myra Haraski, again, it's sort of a who's who of who's been unfortunate today. In 13th and 14th, Alejandro Lyro in the car number 282. In the car number 916, Leroy Coppage in 15th. Florence Arabian in 16th, a day to forget for him. In 17th is Wanji Lin. 18th, Greg Stefani. 19th, Mark Geehan. 20th, David Davidson. And rounding up the field is Joe Mernt and Jared Colo.
And first up, looks like we have our winner here today, Simon. That was some impressive stuff, but it looks like it was mostly helped along by a quick pit stop. Were you saving from the beginning? Is that what helped you, or was this just a lucky break for you?
Hi, guys. The first thing I want to say is sorry to Kenneth for our coming together. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm pretty sure I took him out of the race, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, pit stops. I wasn't really saving, to be honest. We got, after I hit Kenneth, we got back in a little group. I think there's 3 of us, a couple of seconds behind the lead pack, so we were trying to catch up there. So to be honest, I wasn't saving so much now.
Wow, so that makes it even more impressive. You did eventually catch the front group and were back in the hunt, but decided to stop a little bit earlier than those around you. Were you surprised, though, when they came out of the pits and you found yourself leading the way?
Yeah, a little surprised. I mean, they pitted, I think, the lap straight after me. We were going around pretty quickly, but I could see the guy, I think it was Ryan, was catching us from behind. I think he caught us by a couple of seconds. So it was clear to me that on your own you would probably be a little bit quicker over 4 or 5 laps. So to be honest, I thought about pitting maybe 2 or 3 times before I actually did pit. But someone had to pit first, and that was me tonight, and I managed to make it stick.
This has got to feel good coming in to win the overall as a Spec 2 driver. Do you wear that as a bit of a badge of pride?
I think, to be honest, any win in any class is worthy of number one, and racing with these guys, they're a good bunch of lads. So yeah, I'm over the moon with P1, definitely.
Great stuff. Congratulations. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while we got you?
Yeah, thanks to my wife for putting up with my hobby Saturday and Sunday nights with the Weekend Warriors. I got home tonight maybe 10 minutes before turning on the computer. So many thanks to my wife.
Great stuff. Glad to hear that she's been so supportive. And in the meantime, second place with Frederik, we've got Rob asking him how he managed to make up so many positions.
Frederik, an absolutely great race by you out there, and 15 positions gained. I'd imagine you're pretty happy about second place.
Yeah, actually, I was happy to be in the last 8 because this is my first race in this league, and I was just happy to manage to stay with the last group until the finish, and then yeah, something happened, and I got lucky, I guess. Yeah,
talk me through the. I saw that you were sort of at a distance from the first initial incident at the start-finish straight, what was going through your mind when that happened?
The first incident at the start?
The first one, yeah.
Wow, I have no idea. To be honest, no, I don't know. What happened?
No, the incident between the leaders of the group coming up to the last few laps.
Ah, okay. I think somebody was trying to take over. It was slightly behind me because I guess I was just I had a better toe than the rest, I guess, and I was passing everybody. And behind me, I was just watching the replay. One of them tried to get in between two others, and yeah, I guess there was just not enough space. When I saw it happen in the mirror, I was just well, it's just one of these days. I mean, usually I'm in those crashes, and now I wasn't.
And talk me through overtaking as well, because these cars, they're exceptionally difficult. And would you rate this track as probably one of the hardest to overtake in for these cars?
Well, it has a pretty long straight, but what the V isn't so old yet, so I don't have that much experience in it yet. But what I experienced until now is that there is a lot of tow, there's a lot of drag, so you can catch up a car in front of you pretty quickly. But once you're besides it, it's you have to have a really good tow to really get past that car, unless you work together, and that's what happens here. A lot of people work together. That perhaps they lift a little bit to let them pass by and be faster as a group, to say.
Good stuff, good stuff. And just before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs or anyone you'd like to thank in particular?
Well, this group is really nice. The Weekend Warriors. My first race, very good experience. Thanks to all of you guys.
Thanks very much, Frederick, and congratulations on P2 and a very well-deserved one.
Up next, we have third place finisher Thomas Renders, which is becoming a habit. Your third place in a row. You might have to change your number to the number 3 if you get to join the Spec 1 class next season.
Yeah, that probably right. I'm very happy. The last laps were a big roller coaster, though. I mean, I was thinking I wasn't able to make it to the podium again. I was having a good run before the crash, but yeah, I don't know what happened the last couple of laps. So yeah.
2 separate crashes or what happened in front of you, to be honest. But regardless, you know, we were talking about how the previous 2 tracks they were kind of shortened courses. This was a full course and perhaps one of the biggest we've run in some time. How did you feel jumping over to this? Do you think you enjoy this kind of more wide open circuit, or was this less fun?
I have a background in cycling, so I do enjoy the strategy of these kind of races, but to be honest, the real I think the tracks are better suitable. The smaller tracks are better suitable for the cars, because yeah, the straight here is so long that I think the top speed is you get to the top speed very fast. So.
Well, I think you'll get your wish with Summit Point next week. Are we going to see you around and see you on the podium once again?
Let's hope so.
All right.
Where can I sign, right?
Oh, well, we'll try and cheer you on as best we can. Congratulations on another third, sir.
Thank you.
It's Thomas Renders, third place. And finally, we have an Irishman talking to a Scot, as Robert O'Brien has caught up with Ryan Walker.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? An Irishman talking to a Scotsman, but the Scotsman did very well for himself. 14 positions gained. Ryan, how did you feel?
A bit surprised after that race, to be honest. I mean, I started towards the back of the field, and then I just said to myself, just do my thing, pick up any positions that I can if people have issues, and yeah, managed to keep out of trouble and had a good pit stop and managed to get myself into the lead battle towards the end, which I was quite surprised about. And yeah, I'm pretty much smiling from ear to ear after that race.
Yeah, and that was very surprising because we were so convinced that you'd get up there in the end and sort of mix it in. I want you to talk me through, though, in particular, sort of the images are going across your screens now. How difficult was it to be in a group that was that volatile? Because, as you said yourself, starting from the back and then leapfrogging all the way to the front, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, I find overtaking was at times pretty difficult, and if I couldn't get by someone, I just stayed in the pack, stayed in the slipstream, and done a bit of fuel saving. But I have to say, I did have a good battle switching back and forth between with Frederick, I think it was. That was good fun, and so yeah, we managed to get each other close to the pack before the pit stops, and I have to say it was good racing with him and also the lead pack. But overall, it's I've enjoyed my first race in the series.
And it being your first race in the series, you're going to do more, given your first taste?
That's the plan. It's kind of just jump in for a bit of fun and just race when I can, because sometimes I'm busy on a Saturday with work commitments, but I'll be around when I can for sure.
And before we let you go, any shout-outs or any thanks in particular you'd like to give?
First of all, you guys for putting on the broadcast, and the people that put on the Weekend Warriors Formula V League, and if you're looking for a fun league to race, I would definitely recommend it.
Thank you very much, Ryan, and congratulations on the P4, a very well-deserved one.
And that'll take us to the end of our broadcast. But before we go, a big thank you to our sponsor for this series, Ringfree, a unified VoIP for your essential business. Find out more at ringfree.com. Choose connection. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Rob, Sean, and Dougie. You can find out more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media, which we've listed on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below, so it's nice and easy to find. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, Summit Point will be up next. That's Saturday, August 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including a little later this evening. The Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series goes to South Boston at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.